Hey, everyone. Welcome back to GMIHub Online. It's so good to have you back and joining us. Hope you had a great week. And guess what? It's April. Oh my gosh. Um, the weather is still got to catch up to us, but hey, I'm really happy that it's April. I can't believe the first quarter of 2022 has gone by, but we have got such a great show that is going to come up to that is coming up today, and we are excited about it. But before I go on, I want to introduce our co-host, Dale Borland. Dale.
Greetings and salutations. I'm so glad you guys have tuned in to GMI Hub Online. And this is your first time visiting us. Thank you for joining us. Hit that subscription and make sure that you get notified with a notification bell each time we upload a video. And, we also have a website we want you to check out, gmihub.ca. On gmihub.ca, there is lots of great information for you to browse and look at and check it out. We got the Hub Happening, which is an email newsletter which goes out once a month. And if you go into the gmihub.ca and then put your email into the section that says to submit your email, you will get the Hub Happening every month. And you'll find out what's happening in our community, which also leads to this really important part that if you are an artist, a producer, or you have an event coming up and you want us to tell people about it in the Hub Happening, just let us know by emailing us right there through the gmihub.ca. And we'll get your information out to everybody who's able to get those emails. It'll be great for you and us to help you. Let's get into our conversations. We talk about one of our core values. We're talking about unity, community, mentorship, and talent growth. We're going to focus in on the second one of community.
That's right. Today, we are excited to be talking about how to basically build a community for creatives. You know what? We've heard from artists, whether seasoned or not so seasoned, the need for community. We've seen that, music goes beyond, or sorry, the creativity goes beyond just the creative part of a person. It's actually the person itself, him or herself, that wants to feel safe, wants to be in that community. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit more. And I'm so thrilled that we have a couple of panelists with us. We have Drew Brown, award-winning music artist, singer, songwriter, and he's been with us before, but we're so thrilled to have him back again. Thank you so much, Drew. Welcome. Say hi to everybody.
Hey. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's going to be so much fun. Community is in my blood. Community creation is in my blood. So this is really good. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Awesome. And we also have brand new to our panel. We have Pat Russell. Now, Pat Russell, she is a singer. She's an author. She is a speaker. She is the full package. Yeah. And she is here with us. I am so. Did I miss one? Oh, she's a coach too. I missed that one.
That's right.
Welcome, Pat. So glad to have you with us.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here tonight.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you so much. And finally, last but not least, we have Tom Golly, no stranger to our panelists. We have Tom Golly tuning in again from the U.S. Tom, how you doing? Award-winning recording artist. I don't think you can hear us yet, though.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, you
awesome. Welcome. Hey, Tom.
Hey, what's going on, everyone?
Hey, so great to have you with us.
Yeah, it's great when you have a new phone and none of your calendar stuff transferred to it. And you get a little message saying, hey, we're going live in like 5 minutes. And I kid you not, I had my backpack on and I was walking out the door.
Seriously?
Seriously? Yeah, I'll be ready. I got this.
I got this.
So here I am. So sorry for my tardiness. Awesome. I blame the iPhone.
We're glad you're here. Yeah, sure. We'll do that.
Hey, you know what? We consider this the online version of getting together at like the keg, and it was just waiting for the buddies to show up. So, you know what? I'm so glad we were able to turn you around and get you back to our table.
So people gather around the keg in Canada. Is that how it works?
Well,
something like that.
Around the table.
All right.
Around the table. Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's awesome. All right. Nothing wrong with that. Is that the terminology though? Like getting around the keg? Is that like what they actually call it, or?
No,
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 no. The
so
keg
that's
is
just
not
to
a
what it's
restaurant.
clarify,
called.
the keg is a steak restaurant here in
Yeah,
Canada.
it's a steak restaurant.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
it's
actually a beer
Like,
keg, though that
oh, see,
also would be cool.
okay, that
Totally
would be
different thing.
cool, right?
Good one, Drew.
All right. So
Thanks for
on
clarifying, Drew.
yeah, thank you. So on today's show, we're going to be speaking about community building, and the great thing about having us together right here now, there are 3 different panelists that probably have never met each other before, and it's really nice to bring you guys together. And we want to welcome you at home who are joining in this conversation. You just have an opportunity to be part of the conversation, and that's by putting a comment into the live stream. And we are going to be able to read those as we go through the show today. And we want you guys to really be involved as much as you can. And if there's any questions that you may have when we're all said and done, we will give them to these guys to answer. If we don't have answers for it, or we don't have the answers, we'll find somebody who does. It's just the way it works. So as we talk about building community, let's open up with one question. What do you visualize when you hear the term building a community? So we're going to probably start that with Patricia. Would you like to lead out with an answer? What when you think of community, what do you think of?
Sure. Thank you so much, Dale. When I think of community, it's people coming together. We don't look the same, we don't sound the same, but we connect over a common theme. There's something that brings us together, that makes us want to come together um, to be better. Forgive the pun, but a community is, for me, is coming together so that we can be better together. And being better together, we can impact others in that we come in contact with. And that's huge. It's
Mm,
huge.
yeah, yeah. Let me see if I'm
Almost
getting
sounded
this
like
right.
a
You're talking about yeah. If we're together, like it's like we're good alone, but with somebody else beside us, we're better. We have a person who we can be accountable to. A person who we can bounce off ideas from, and all that. So yes, there's certainly a stronger presence with more than one person. Safety in
Yeah,
numbers, they say.
absolutely. Absolutely. My running line these days is community is the new currency. I think it should have always been our currency, but I believe that
uh,
community has to be the new currency. If we
mm,
thought we could be silos in the past, I think
mhm,
we have found out even more so in the last 2 years the importance of
mhm.
community of any
Amen.
kind, and it's important. I mean, whether you're accountants or administrators in the music area, in the music and arts, we feed off each other, so we need each other. Um, so to be exclusive all by myself is just
Mhm,
not going
mhm.
to
Yeah,
get you
yeah,
further.
yeah.
That's true.
Okay, let's see. Drew,
Drew.
jump in here.
So I need to hold my mic. My laptop fan is going nuts. You can probably hear it going on in the background. Um, but yeah, for me, when I visualize community, it is very much. A friend of mine in Nashville coined this phrase called "brave space," and what she meant by this was a safe space is cool, kind of like a place where you can kind of like lay down your guard and sort of be open and be welcomed and feel safe among your
Mhm,
peers, among friends, and that's super super important. But I think community is not just being safe, but it's also that sense of accountability. It's that sense of kind of like people will have an opportunity to say, "Hey, man, you said you're going to finish that song last week and you didn't."
mhm,
So
mhm,
like let me hold your feet to the fire a little bit and encourage you to fit. It's a little bit more of community is about that space in which you can be free to be yourself, to be loved and to love in return, to be seen and see others. But also there's a
mhm,
sense of kind of like we are doing that. If we're doing this together, that means sometimes there's a price to be paid. That sounds negative, but it's
mhm,
not, because we all want to be
mhm.
encouraged to become better versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
I used
Yeah.
to run a collective, music collective. It was like a record label without the money, essentially. And it was like each one had a gift. Each of the artists had a gift, and so we can use our gifts to not just make ourselves music and make ourselves, go on tours. But we can actually leverage those gifts to help each other in the collective. And my rule was the whole DIY thing, that do-it-yourself thing, is gone. It's now DIT. It's do it together. Do it yourself is you can't do that anymore. Those days are long gone. And now it's DIT, do it together. So that's kind of what I visualize. It's a brave space in which we are helping each other. We're safe, we're seen, but we're also pushing each other, which means there might be conflicts, there might be some pain, but it's all for the benefit of our growth. It's not me trying to bug you, me trying to insult you. It's actually me trying to get the best version of you to be seen and heard by more people.
Yeah, when you say brave space, that's good because you have that opportunity because you have a relationship with the individual to be honest with them, and that's basically what you're saying. And I think that's really really cool. Yeah, my brain was going so many different directions when you were talking, but because I do that, I have ADD, ADHD, MOUSE. It's just crazy. So you do the same. So I was thinking about the whole premise of no man is an island. That's something that Patricia alluded to, and it's true when it comes to music because I don't think it's possible for any artist, regardless of how grandiose or A-lister they are, to be where they are on their own. There's a publicist, there's a marketing, there's the whole big machine, right? So even, I mean, if you're out there right now and you're going at this by yourself, you're playing your music and you're trying to write, let me just, I mean, just encourage you that there are other people out there who are doing the same thing. And if you could reach out to them and start maybe building a relationship with them, I think that you would be stronger as a person who's learning from other people, especially when someone's a little bit further ahead.
I think we lost Dale somehow. So while we're here, Tom, what's your thought on what do you visualize when you hear community? You need to unmute your mic though, bud.
I'm not
There you
muted.
are. There you are. There you are.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay.
I hear you. I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I said I I don't think we lost Dale. I think he's just being still and knowing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I guess, I have a complicated unfortunately the idea of community is not as simple as some people make it sound, especially in a town like Nashville. What I find is, like Dale was just talking about, reaching out to people, particularly people who are ahead of you. And I find, in my opinion, that, if you find someone who's ahead of you willing to help you out with anything, it's just because you reached out and asked, it's probably not going to happen. Now, with that said, what I find is one of the best ways to create community is focus less on the value other people can bring to you, and you focus on the value you can bring them, and make it about that. Because if you do that, and you have no real expectation of like getting something in return, that's how you truly build community. Because, I'll tell you now, like in anything professional, right away, people have this radar that's like, if they just feel like, okay, they're doing all this just to benefit from me, you're going to have a really hard time connecting with those people. So I have learned to really take the approach of, if you can't get invited to the table, serve water. So that's sort of the approach is how can what value can I bring? Even if it's just serving water at this event, let me do that. And, and I think that at the end of the day, there's a saying that says the best known is better than being the best. So the more people that know you, that see you serving, that see you just showing up all the time, you have a better chance of connecting and maybe even being invited to the table than the person that's jockeying for that, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing that up, because
That
makes a lot of sense. We're talking about building community, so that you talked about how to. So maybe we could go to that next question. How would you go about building community? Thanks for the segue.
Well, I'm going to jump in. Drew, I'm sorry if you were going to talk, but I'm going to jump in because I agree with what you just shared, Dale, about trying to seek out people. Sometimes that is difficult. And interestingly enough, when it comes to that aspect, I like to take the initiative to offer, just to introduce myself to people, just to connect. And it's not even necessarily because I want something from them. It's just that I believe in the servant leader approach, whether the person's ahead of you or not, but it's that whole desire to want to connect. I've been in leadership not just overnight, not just yesterday. So it is innate, or it's something that I've learned that it's important to be proactive and to reach out, to connect, to even just say hello. I notice I've seen you a couple of times, just wanted to say hi, how are you doing, that kind of thing. So I really do agree with you in taking the initiative. Now, there's the other side where if your personality is to be proactive, you might have to have the heads up that um, in reaching out to people and wanting to connect, not everybody wants to connect. And I don't know if I'm taking you down on another trail that you might be going, but that taking of initiative to reach out, to offer, to serve, to help is how I see is an aspect of starting it if it's not there already.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And Drew, what are your thoughts on that?
This is how to sort of create community. Right.
Yeah,
That's where
Yeah, what's
yeah.
some
So
of the
for me,
tools of the
yeah.
trade?
yeah, it. I have two things. Okay, and actually, I had a pretty I had a different Nashville experience. Um, for me, it was as a guy like a fish out of water. I was the Canadian guy going down to Nashville, and I only had a few contacts there. And most and no, I had a few contacts. A lot of them were sort of already out of the scene, so they're so for me, it was I sat down in my favorite coffee shop in Nashville, actually in Franklin, and I sat there and just did all my. I was working at church at the time, so I did all my office hours in this coffee shop. And whenever I saw someone I knew, I simply said, "Hey, can I ask you some questions? I'm trying to sort of learn as much as I possibly can. Can I ask you some questions? Do you have time?" Thankfully, every single person said yes, which is not what I expected at all. Not what I expected. And it made me realize, oh wait, people actually want to help. I'm
Mhm.
I'm the most jaded person you will ever meet, and I was blown away by the fact that like, yeah, for sure, um, right now, and they would come to my seat and we talked. I'm like, what? I was expecting like an email. I was expecting like talk to my manager. I was expecting like, no, because they have every right to say, dude, I got things to do. Please don't bother me on my spare time when I'm in a coffee shop. That's what I expected, and that's totally in their right to say that. But they're like, no, I want to help. I think some people generally want to help, especially if you're not coming from an angle kind of like, I want something from you, apart from some advice, something that doesn't cost a whole lot for them, not costing a whole lot of their time or energy. Um, and it's funny how sometimes those questions would lead me to another contact. Literally, I had one conversation with someone. The next day, they brought me down to a record label, have conversations with some A&R guys out of one simple 10-minute conversation. So it's amazing, like sometimes making the ask is key, but that's not always the case. Just to be clear. I think that was like a rare season. Um, but I'm really thankful that sometimes people do just want to genuinely help. The second thing is um, I'm always looking for people who are in a similar place than me. Either like they want to put out some music, they want to do some work, they want to do something, and so we can leverage all of our gifts, our gear, our knowledge, and we can say, okay, like there's only the four of us. Well, we can put on a show, we can put on a tour, we can do a collab record, we can do a bunch of different things, and four heads are better than one. We can work together. We can create our own little community. And by creating that, it slowly grows and widens and lengthens. And has a bigger reach, because now we're sharing contacts. Now we're sharing all these things. And so now your contact is my contact, and my contact is, and all of a sudden this community is slowly building, and we're adding more people in because our growth is widening. Those two things for me were, and still are, the easiest kind of ways to sort of build community. I would go down to Canadian Music Week here in Toronto. I used to go there every year and just bump into some of my favorite musicians and say, hey, I remember one time there was a guy, he used to play guitar for this Canadian band called Our Lady Peace. And I met him like years and years and years ago when I was a kid. And my crappy band opened up for his band. And I remember, hey, Mike, he remembered me. He was like, yeah, I remember you, man. And we sat there for like good 20 minutes talking about stuff. And then he said, hey, you should contact this person. Let me get his number for you. I'm like, by simple, hey, man, how you doing? Just getting in front of people and talking, which for me is the hardest thing in the world as an introvert. I hate doing that thing with a passion. But I think like making those sort of moments, tapping those shoulders, sometimes leads to nothing. But it's worth trying. And the worst case scenario, the worst thing you're going to get is you know what, I don't have time for this right now, but nice meeting you.
Mm.
Worth it. So for me, again,
Yeah.
finding people who are in the same sort of space, or at least want to have the same goals, and creating like a little team and working together, finding ways you can leverage what you have, but then also making those kind of like random knock on the door. Hey, can I buy you a coffee? Can I buy you lunch? I have like 2 questions to ask. That's been really helpful for me. Really, really, really helpful for me.
What I found key about what you're saying there, Drew, was your approach and your attitude towards that. It wasn't a and I'm going to tap into this because of our conversation with Tom in an episode about networking. There's some don'ts, and I really want Tom to kind of bring us back to that a little bit, which is your approach was, hey, I'm asking because I don't know, and I just wanted to get some information if that's okay. And like you said, because of how you asked, people saw you as, oh, okay, someone just needs some help. I'll be happy to help. But there are other people that may come across differently, and they may have gotten a different response. Tom, I'm picking on you because of your experience with Nashville and some of the people. Like Nashville's like the hub in the US when it comes to music. And I'm sure you've seen it over and over again where people have come down wanting to have community in the Nashville area, but because of their approaches, sometimes they hit some walls. So I'm kind of tapping into a question I didn't send you, which is what are some don'ts? What are some attitudes we should not have if we're trying to build a community?
Well, I mean, again, I think one of the big don'ts, and again, I've made a lot of these mistakes early on. And for me, like the biggest don't is because I've made these mistakes. I've watched people make these mistakes, but, you know, don't like, you know, you don't go to an event that an artist or a songwriter or somebody, an industry person that you like, and just don't show up and be like, hey, can I give you my demo? Hey, can I send you some songs? Oh, I have a song that'd be perfect for you. Like, no, don't do that. And, a mistake I made a lot, because I always took the approach thinking that everyone's as bizarre as me. So if somebody comes up to me and it's like, hey, Johnny, right? I know Johnny. It's like, bro, we both know Johnny. Are we best friends now? And so, if I had knew I had a mutual friend as maybe an artist or somebody, I would always be like, oh, hey, how do you know so-and-so? And the truth is, I didn't really know the people that I was name dropping as well as I maybe had let on. So, and people sniff that out right away because it's almost like, okay, why are you trying to let my guard down? What are you doing here? And what I learned again in the process was, focusing those conversations more on, one, if there's something I could add value to something they're doing, I will certainly use that. But I feel like, making those conversations more about them, and what they maybe they've inspired you. Hey, you've really inspired me to do what I'm doing, and I just want to say thank you for all you've done. And just it's exciting. I mean, for a lot of people, they've just moved to Nashville, so you tell them, yeah, I just moved to Nashville, and I just you don't want to throw it out there. Maybe we can write sometime, because they're gonna go, yeah, dude, that'd be great. Here, text me, and you're never gonna hear from them again, and you're probably gonna get your feelings hurt. I get my feelings hurt a lot. You're probably going to, feel like, man, no one here believes in me. And it's like, well, your just approach is all wrong, So I feel like, at the end of the day, again, a lot of people throw around the networking word. And the truth of the matter is that your goal should not be, hey, I just want to meet this person. Again, having that mindset of, this person can benefit me. Instead, I feel like for me, the shift in mindset is, how can I benefit this person? What is it that I could possibly bring to the table for this person? And that has served me super well. Versus, and I think it's great that Drew was talking about, there was a time, I don't know how long ago his Nashville experience was, but there was a time where asking people for coffee or lunch was a thing. And it's like, I found that, people are less interested in that. And, so these days what I found was, hey, create a podcast, have good, high quality audio, video, invite people on it. They'll come on. And what they get out of it is great content that they can share. They don't have to worry about writing it, editing it. So it's like, hey, I'm going to have 4K video of you telling me a story that you could use forever on social media. So come on my podcast nobody listens to, and let's become friends. And it's been really beneficial for me to add that value and, sit across the table from somebody and, have some real talk stuff. And with a podcast, for me anyway, I can go a lot deeper than I could. It'd be weird if I'm at coffee and kind of, challenging something that they're doing when it's expected in a podcast. And you just sort of develop, real relationships by getting to know people. And for me, it's been giving them an opportunity to talk and me having an opportunity not to worry about selling myself, but actually listening to them. And I think sometimes the value that people have told me to come on my podcast, been like, man, thanks for listening to that. And it's like, cool. I just added value by listening to them. And they're not used to that. I think a lot of times people in higher positions are used to people just coming up, selling themselves. And, I could do this and, oh, I did that. And I know this person. And again, I've done all those things and I've put people off. Thankfully they've come back around. But, so ultimately, as far as the don'ts, like I said, is don't make it all about you. You just can't. Even though, yes, you want to benefit, you knowing some of these people will be helpful, but you really have to find it in your heart and saying, hey, if this relationship I make with this person is only going to benefit them and never me, am I still willing to have this relationship? And I believe you should. If you're going to engage this person, you should be willing to, get nothing really in return. And I think that what'll happen is you probably will find that these are people, these organic relationships you create will just pay off way bigger in your life than just what you may have thought you would have gotten in return, or if you were just trying the network approach.
That's a great way to handle it, I think, building relationships. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And before we this is so far so good, I want to just take a break and go into a special announcement. If you can, if that's ready.
Are you writing a Christmas song? Do you want it on our Christmas CD? This year, send us your song for your chance on the CD. Submission deadline July 31st, 2022. Family Christmas Volume 3. Christmas 2022.
Oh, get your submissions in myhub.ca. Get them in. Wow. I can't wait to hear
Yes,
this project. I'm excited about it.
you have till July 31st. If you didn't catch that date, July 31st to get your music in. Okay?
So
That's all we're going to say, right?
Well, okay.
No.
All right, I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet.
Okay, back to our conversation. I think in the midst of everything that we've been talking about with community, I'm kind of thinking like we've touched on some of the elements that will make a community work, but I don't know if there's any extra ones. What do you think,
There
Dale?
maybe is some other ones. I think that elements that we would talk about is relationship. That was, I think, paramount, especially when you're building relationships. But there's also this. I think that Drew touched on earlier was this being brave, this opportunity to actually share and journey with somebody as they move forward in their music and be there for them as not necessarily a way of maybe pushing them, but being there to encourage them. And I think that's a one of the techniques I think that will help build community in with each other in the balance of relationships. As you're there and you say, you know what, last time that guy said something that really meant something to me, or that guy encouraged me this way, or so those. What kind of ways can we? What kind of ways can we you do to help the artistic or the creative community in itself is healthy?
Well, let's bring our panelists back and find out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys hear the question. What are some, sorry, say your question again there, Dale.
All right, it's just we're talking about what's a healthy way
Elements.
that we can be effectively making this creative community. What are some of those elements that you can think off the top of your head?
In other words, how to nurture a creative community.
Yeah, or build that community, continue that community.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, please.
Jump in.
I'm going to give a completely non-musical answer to this. It's the simplest thing. It is sit around a table and have a meal. If you
Yeah.
have a family, bring the whole family. Bring them all, right? If it's just you, great. You and whoever is in the community, and just eat and drink, and with no rush, with no other things on the agenda. Don't be like, let's eat, let's go right. No, 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 no. Just be. Sit outside all night under the stars. Just talk about life. Talk about your goals. Talk about your hurts. Talk about all that stuff. Just get it out there. Make this community thing. The more time we spend around the table, the stronger this bond will be, and the easier it will be to kind of live in that brave space. I have a friend of mine, and she's a pretty new friend, and I remember I was giving her some critique on her guitar playing and her singing, and I can tell when I said it, she was incredibly hurt by it, and I was like, "Oh no, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm so sorry." And then I realized, oh yeah, she's only known me for like a month. The other day, I gave her some really harsh critique, and she was kind of like, "Oh, that's good. Thank you, Drew. We're now 2 years in our relationship." You know what I mean? Like like time, and the only way to build that time is not just through days, but it's actually the amount of time spent together.
Right.
Right?
Because you're
We
doing
spend
life
like most of
together,
our
right? Yeah. Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
It's time
Yeah.
spent together. It's not just days on the calendar. It's actually minutes and seconds face to face, having those beautiful conversations around art, music, politics, justice, spirituality, family, issues, trauma, whatever the case might be. That's that's what makes the ground of community really soft and ready to be planted, have seeds planted in it. And so for me, it's very, very simple. Gather around a table, eat your faces off, and just spend time together, seeing each other's faces and just laughing and crying and being present. Because that way you can build that brave space.
Beautiful.
You know what, Drew, I just want to jump in because I don't know why my heart just got so tender and broken up, because what you said is so true. People don't really they don't need to know, like, how did you get that contract, or who do you know over at so and so. At the end of the day, it really all comes back to relationship. And I think that's a thread that we just keep hearing through, because it's the whole thing about community. Dale kind of, you kind of leaned into that in some of your previous comments, that if we can connect with each other, not necessarily about anything that we do similar, but get to know the heart of the people, get to know the heart of the person. What is it that really tees you off when you go someplace to sing, or what do you struggle with? Do you like playing in E? Because I hate singing in E. As far as I'm concerned, the key of E is for men. Biased in that. I don't know a woman that loves to sing in that key. But just having finger foods, just my husband's very much a social butterfly. I am an introvert, so I'm very surprised to hear that you're an introvert, Drew. My husband is an introvert. My husband is not an introvert. My husband, we move into this neighborhood, and within 2 weeks, he knows everybody up the street and down the street. I'm like, really? How? Well, I just went over to them and said hello. Okay, so we're crafted different, but relationships on a whole is just developing and reaching that relationship. Cheryl and I, have had to be intentional. And it's that intentional part about connecting with each other. We'd see each other wave from a distance, but until we were going to call each other, and I said, well, due to what's happening, I don't want to do a phone call. So I would like to see, let's just use this beautiful, amazing device called Zoom so that we can see each other. And I think she would agree with me that when you can see somebody, hear them. I mean, you're seeing the inflections in my voice and my hands. I love to use my hands. That's part of the way that I communicate. You can get to know a little bit more about me versus an email, or but you have but the point of it is, there has to be intention about intentionally planning and booking that. Hey, do you want to meet up at McDonald's? We could just grab a latte and sit outside and just have a chat for a minute. Or I'm going to be over in Milton. Are you free between 3 and 4 o'clock? I'm about 45 minutes north of you, Drew. Just saying. But that's the way we have to be, is intentional. I knew you'd like that. But just be intentional. I don't know how you all feel about that.
No, absolutely. No, you have to. And that's something I was thinking about today. I was working today, and I was thinking through this whole pandemic, I've been having a challenge with being away from these people that I used to hang with. And there's a whole community of people that I have lost touch with. I mean, it's sad that I just felt like there's a way that I could just say, guys, if you want to come hang out with me, let's go. Be intentional. Let's make a time, a date, and we'll go and sit down at Tim's for half an hour. We'll just shoot the breeze. I mean, and I'm actually going to do that. I really want to do that because there's so many people that I used to, just be and hang, and I don't do that anymore. And it's, for me, that it's been a real vacuum in my life, because I'm a very huggy person. I'm a very hands-on person, and if I'm not around people, my wife will tell you, I go stir crazy. It's like and she's the exact opposite. She's a bit like Drew. She likes to be by herself and do her thing, and watch her stories and whatever. And I'm like, let's go meet somebody. And then, like, I want to visit that church. I've never seen what's going on, and I want to visit that church. And she's like, Dale, you're crazy. But that's just my makeup. I'm just different. But yeah,
Well,
I miss that.
I would say though, one of the problems and one of the biggest negative impacts of the of the whole pandemic was, nowadays, I feel like, so there was a time at least in my social circles where, it was our differences that united us. It's sort of like, I mean, I played on hockey teams, sports teams, and you had the guy who was, real big into this thing or this belief. And, we had people with some whacked, point of views, and, you loved him for it because that's the guy who's in there going like, yeah, guys, the government's, they're following us. And you're just like, oh, he's awesome. Like, that's his entertaining stuff. And you loved him because of what he brought to the table. And,
Right.
you could have your fun arguments, but still be friends. And then the pandemic came, and it seemed like it became this thing of like, you had to find this tribe of people that checked all these different boxes of agreement. And I think that because that's the new normal, like you said, I have friends, people that I've known for years, that suddenly, like, if I didn't agree, or even if I didn't agree with like a specific situation that, I mean, I don't want to go too far into this particular situation or topic, but he was of the belief that there was a particular situation that was like black and white. It's a racist thing, and I'm like, can you explain it to me, because I don't clearly see it so please tell me. And he got so angry that I didn't just take his word for it or just see it as he did. I haven't spoken to him since, because I asked him a question of like, man, based on what you posted, I don't see it. Can you explain it? And again, it's almost like, well, that's somebody, I guess I don't check off his boxes anymore, and now we're not friends. That's weird over a question. And, so I think I do see the light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're starting to come out of that now that we're getting around people, I mean, I think for me, anyone who knows me knows, like, I often will find, like they say, opposites attract, and like one of my business partners, literally, we disagree on everything, except for the fact that, like, we love each other. We're great friends. And, we know that, like, while I might be fire, he might be ice, creatively, we do great things together. So, I could, and the fun part is I can be just mad and go, hey man, let's talk about the government, like on my drive home, and we'll just fight. And then it's like, oh dude, I'm almost home, I gotta go. He's like, all right, see you tomorrow. Like, that's true friendship, I wish more people would just live by that. Like, it's our differences that unite us, because that's how we learn, it's how we grow.
Right. It goes beyond tolerance. It's a totally different type of thing. It's just like love and then be, Yeah.
Actually,
we were
that's
talking about
as I say, that's just a good point, though, because I think about, we started off, or it was very early on in our conversation, the term silos was mentioned. And it's a term that I've used on a number of occasions too, where it just seems as though, especially here in Canada anyway, that, be it because of geography or whatever the case may be, the communities that exist are seemingly in silos, and they're not interconnecting. And unfortunately, what happens is people get so locked into their little circles that it's almost like they don't see the possibility of connecting with anybody else. But yet they want to, and yet they don't feel that they can. And I think I've heard someone else say the same thing Tom said, which is, instead of being separate because of our differences, we should be celebrating our differences together. Right? We should be uniting because of our differences, because, hey, God made the body of Christ, and not every part is an eye, not every part is an ear, not every part is a finger, not every part is a foot. Like, it's, everybody has a different part. And even if hand and foot disagree, they still need to work together to get the job done, whatever that means. Right? So I appreciate what Tom was saying there, but I'm sorry, I cut somebody off as I was saying this comment.
No,
I was gonna just make I was gonna make like a nerd reference, basically saying how, like, in the comic books, right? Like, Batman and the Joker were two sides of the same coin. Like, Batman needed the Joker, Joker needed Batman. And like, this is actually funny. There was, in the comic series, Joker faked his death, and Batman didn't know what to do with himself. So it's like, you almost need those people that are the polar opposites, in your life, to keep you going, to keep you
it's all
honest,
about balance, right, Tom?
Yeah.
It's all about balance. But we have an opportunity, though, to work with people that maybe don't think the same as us, and that is actually brings a better bouquet when it comes to songwriting. Whenever you have somebody who is in a different lane than you, it takes your songwriting and that opportunity to a new level. And it'd be like for a young artist who is trying to learn his craft, and somebody who's like Drew, who's been doing it, and you, Tom, who's been doing the writing for so many, to have that type of an influence on them as a writer is only nothing but good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
So what
true.
about
I
what do you think's
Go ahead.
happening in today's? I was just thinking, what's happening in today's community that's around us? We're thinking specifically about the Canadian atmosphere here, with artists and building the community. What do you see that is happening that are positive things?
Drew?
Well, we'll start with
Um,
Drew.
I
Yeah, man.
defer to
yeah,
you,
yeah,
my
sure.
friend.
That's cool. No, no, that's great. Yeah, I know, like, um, I'll take some local. I'll speak what's happening locally to make a larger point. At the beginning of the pandemic, actually right before the pandemic, a few friends got together at a local restaurant and started to do like an open mic night. And I
Hmm.
think it lasted like a month, maybe a month and a half before it got shut down. And it was a really cool spot because all the and hopefully no one takes this as an insult, but kind of all like the amateur musicians would come out. So you had all the guys who were like seasoned pros who were like retired. You had people like me who were kind of like were in the game, but also they're moms and dads, and so they can't really push as hard as they used to because they're trying to balance their dreams with their dreams, of having these amazing kids and trying to be present there. That's a weird tension. And then you had sort of like, the college kids who are in Humber or different music schools in the area, and then you had sort of the amateurs, the people who were just picked up a guitar like a couple weeks ago or maybe a month ago, or used to play in high school, but now they're in their mid 40s and they barely play. It was a total mix of all these artists. And so when the pandemic came, it was like, oh, we're just starting to build this community. And so we moved it online and started doing what a lot of artists did and did like Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives. We did it within context of a group page there. And whenever we could, a lot of us would kind of sneak away and break quarantine and have some get-togethers and like on top of apartment buildings or backyards or garages when we could, and when it was somewhat safe to, and try to take care of each other. But I think that alone, even the trying to meet and gather while still taking care of each other, trying to, there's some people who didn't care. They're kind of like, this pandemic. And there are people who are kind of like, no, I need to like wear 10 masks and, stay 10 feet away from everybody. Wherever side of the spectrum they're on, it was a safe place for everybody to kind of hang out and just be. And everybody respected each other's boundaries in that way. What brought us together was this need to kind of connect over music, over beverage or a meal, talk about how much it sucks. And it really bonded this amazing group. Now, 2 years later, now we're back at the restaurant. I mean, the group, I think it's over 5,000 people on Facebook. It's like really, really tight knit bunch of musicians and artists. And I look at that and I'm like, here's a group where there's some who are releasing their own albums and singles. There's some who are doing some great shows all across the GTA, where like 2 years ago they barely played guitar. I think we're seeing growth, we're seeing maturity, we're seeing ideas, we're seeing creative collaborations, we're seeing. Um, I have the saying like, have a mentor, be a mentor, and we're seeing that happen where
Hmm.
people are sort of looking up to someone and they're looking down. That's not in a weird way, but looking down, just like reaching down and reaching up some younger people into their wings and teach them what they know, a little or a lot that they
Yeah.
know. I think that is an amazing thing. That isn't just happening here in my town. It's happening all across Canada for sure,
Mhm.
where artists, because of because they're forced to sort of not be together, they're finding new and cool ways to support each other. I have a couple friends in Barrie, and they started the exact same group, the exact same time in Barrie, and they do this thing where it's like music's always happening, and every chance they always have like a really cool live show somewhere at a local bar, a tavern, a patio, whatever. And every show, the idea is let's raise money for local projects. So
Wow.
sometimes the
That's
food
so
bank,
encouraging.
sometimes it's like
That's awesome.
when a tornado came through Barrie, they supported a bunch of
Mm,
families. And when I say raise money, I
mm,
don't mean like a couple bucks here and there. I think they've raised like almost maybe 100 grand over the last couple years. They've done
mm,
some
that's
amazing
awesome.
things. We're
So cool.
seeing that across Canada. It's not just hey, I put out a really cool single, let's go. It's like that plus, hey, I have a weekend free. If anybody wants to come and record some stuff, I'll just record them. Whatever, buy me beer, buy me some, fries at McDonald's. I just want to support. We're seeing that. We're seeing, hey guys, I'm playing a show. I'm looking for an opening band. Who wants like? It's less. We're seeing more kind of like, how can I get my community involved in what I'm doing?
Mm,
Mm.
We're like 2 or 3 years ago, it's kind of like, okay, so who's the best artist in town? Let's get them to
mm,
open. Then they'll bring a crowd, which is smart, which
mm,
is what you should be doing. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're still seeing that, but we're also saying, hey, you know what? There's a bunch of rowdy kids down the street. They have a really cool band. Let's get them to play a set. They can have 15. The opener can have 30. We go in for an hour. Boom, that's a night. We're seeing a lot more of like, how can we just carry each other as things are opening up, as things are getting better, as we're coming back to real life? How can we support each other through this and give each other the opportunities we need to succeed?
mm.
We spent a lot of time in the woodshed these last 2 years, learning how to play new instruments or get better at one, learning how to sing, learning how to write songs better. Now's the time to shine. Now's the time
Yeah.
to invite other people to shine, not just me.
But that's
And
that's
so
also
it's
part
it.
of the art, right? The getting the stage time, getting the opportunities to learn your chops. Yeah, absolutely.
This is it. This is
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
One more thing, one more story, and then I'm gonna shut up. Last summer when things were open and feeling really good, I was like, I'm gonna put on a music festival. Okay, wait, I have no money, so I have no investors. Okay, I'm gonna. So I put on this really small music festival. I brought a bunch of local bands in, and I said, hey guys, there's no money. No one's making money. If I make money, I'll buy you like food at the bar or drink. That was it. And they're like, done. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need like 8 hours of your time on a Friday. Okay. Okay, you gotta bring your own gear. There's no backline. Okay. Going on and off stage, like depending on where you go, you are you are the roadies for the band in front of you and behind you. So if there's a band on stage right now, when they get off stage, you drag their gear off first. When you get your gear off, you help the next band on. So we just help each other move. Okay. Like it was just everybody was into it. And it was, I think it's still one of the biggest events that happened in this town in a long time. Like
Um,
the cops showed up, not to shut us down, just to make sure that it was, contained and controlled, especially because we're still in COVID times. I think,
Yeah.
and it was a bunch of young artists, it was a bunch of bands who barely played before live. Some of them was the first gig in their lives. And then we had a few seasoned bands, and it was a great, fun time. I
Mm,
think we're seeing a lot more of that, a lot less ego, a lot more community focused stuff. We still need the big shows. Again, we still need the big shows. We still need to make sure we have those professional things happening, the big hype things happening. We need that. I need that. But also, I know that these kids down the street right now, who I'm sure they're rehearsing in their parents' basement, they also need some really cool opportunities. I want to give it to them. So anyway, yeah, that's what I see happening. Not just here in Milton. I see that happening in Vancouver and in Ottawa, in Calgary. I see that happening over in PEI a lot. It's happening all across the country. As bands do their thing, they're bringing some of their local people with them.
that's encouraging. It
Nice.
really is.
In Canada, I will say that, I know here, at least here in the States, and at least a lot of people I know, and I'm kind of in this boat too, where the pandemic actually created a lot of people questioning, like, how passionate am I? You know, or,
Mm,
I think people have got so used to grinding and working to build this thing. And while to some level it's working, it's like, I think a lot of people, like for me, I used to have a rotisserie of people willing to leave town and go on the road and play shows. And a lot of people just sort of came to the realization of like, dude, you know what? There's some really cool things I could be doing and never have to leave town. So they just sort of went, I'm going to go do that. And I think, like, for me, I have kind of rediscovered a love for just overall being an entertainer. I mean, as much as I love worship and touring and meeting people all over the country, I'll certainly still going to do that on some level, but I have discovered that, like, wow, you know what? I really have an opportunity to, really just see where my passions lie moving forward. And, maybe that for me, like, that looks a little different. And I know here, like, there's bands who have not necessarily even announced that they're done. There's artists and songwriters who are like, hey, it's kind of just a hobby now, and they're okay with it. They're at peace with it.
True.
So there's definitely been an interesting shift here in the States of, and then at the same time, there are people who, during the pandemic were like, I learned how to play guitar and I wrote my first song. And it's like, so it's kind of interesting how there's almost been it's almost like the NFL. It's like a new season where a lot of people just sort of either are taking a season off or are going on to do the next thing. And now you got this whole new draft class of people coming in. So, God's always going to do his thing. He's always going to, he's always going to just do amazing things. And I think for some people, there's definitely been a shift, like some, myself included, where, I fought it for a long time, closing the door and nailing it shut to trying to get involved in I used to be involved in comedy to some degree, and I just nailed it. Like, nope, can't be a part of that. Nope, Christian artist, that's what I do. And, reopening that door has been interesting because, unfortunately the comedy world is so big. It's so small. Well, the Christian comedy world is even smaller. So a lot of what I do now, in addition to the music and the podcast and other stuff, I'm part of the writing team for up and coming stand-up comic. And I'm creating some other content, just mostly filming and stuff, and finding my passions there and using some of the networking and the things that we talked about here to grow that. And that's been definitely been a different season for me. As a result of the pandemic, sort of forcing me to look around and, kind of see what's around me, that I feel like God wants to use me for. And I think that, maybe that's a little bit of a tangent or a little bit of but at the same time, it really fits in with the idea of, you can't always choose what your community ends up being. Sometimes your community chooses you, and seems like lately the comedy world here in Nashville has kind of chosen me. And that's been, like I said, that's been a little challenging for me because it's like some of this stuff is so not my brand, and it's like, how do I deal with this? How do I do this? But, I'm reminded personally that, Jesus was around a lot of off-brand things, but he was still Jesus, So that's, I don't know. Like I said, it might have been a little bit of a rabbit hole I just kind of went down, but again, just staying on the subject of just networking. Sometimes your network or your community chooses you. You don't necessarily always get to choose it.
I think, Tom, you made an excellent point about looking outside of those parameters that you see yourself in to really find your community is something that a lot of maybe artists, maybe their role to another artist might be different than what they're doing with their own music. And I think that you've hit the nail on the head when it comes to encouraging people who are in the industry to maybe take a supportive role to help another musician if they are already established in doing what they want to do.
That's the thing. I think for me, for a long time, I was always like in this mindset of, okay, like, how high value does this thing I'm doing make me seem, right? Like, and I would constantly ask myself these questions like, would Bart Millard from Mercy Me do this? And I'd be like, no, because he's a big deal. And then I just sort of, and I realized I was closing the door to opportunities to, serve others' creativity, but also for me to learn a lot. And I found that for me anyway, it's just as gratifying to be the guy who helps someone else get a show than it is to actually be on the stage and play the show yourself. Or, to write a song and record it. Like I remember when I was a super green rookie, I wrote a bunch of songs for an EP, and then the guys that I wrote that EP with got pub deals. And they were like, yeah, man, so like it's exciting for you too, because these songs are going to end up in our catalog and could end up getting pitched. And I'm like, those are my songs, bro. You ain't pitching my songs. They're mine. What are you talking about? Only the years later, it's like people have cut songs I've co-written, and they're in the process of cutting. And I found like, I came to this evolution of like, wow, even if I never sing on a song again, like it's so awesome to help someone craft something that they wanted to say or something they wanted to sing and be part of that, So like I said, my journey has been a lot of what I've come to learn about everything that we've ever discussed on this show and I've been on has been because I screwed it up royally and had to go, okay, how do I not make these mistakes anymore? How do I grow from this? And, and I would say that behind the scenes role more often than not is way more enjoyable than actually being the one doing it. And there was a time where, I really wanted to manage. I wanted to saw myself as a mentor, manager, and I've done that to some degree for others. And, and again, one of the biggest problems I think with managing other people is you can't be their work ethic for them. And, a lot of times that's the struggle of helping other people. It's like, you can prepare the perfect meal for them and they may not eat it, and you just have to be okay with that. And that's a little tough to deal with sometimes too. And you could solve everyone's problem. It's like you could be the doctor, write the prescription, but they don't take the pills. What do you want from me? And so that is that's one of the hard things about being behind the scenes sometimes, when you're just like, and it's like I look at coaches, right? A lot of these people who start like coaching get gray hair super fast because no one ever seems to run the play, right? But when it works out well and they get the championship ring, man, it's great, and they're just as proud as the players are. So
very true indeed.
It's true.
Patricia.
And
Oh no,
sorry, Cheryl.
I've just been soaking this in and just glean a lot from both Tom and from Drew. I think if I were to look, since we're reflecting, because of my pastoral responsibilities, I spent a lot of time just trying to keep the fire ignited, and keep musicians, encouraging musicians to not let this, and I hope this is not offensive, but this invisible germ keep you from moving forward. Unlike Drew, I've just I've just encountered a lot of fear. Try to empower people and say, this is our finest moment. This is our greatest moment to be creative, to think outside of the box. So, as much as I've wanted to connect it, I found it difficult for people to want to get out of that wall of fear. And it's really had me hitting my head against the wall a lot of times because, I've been, questioning, God, we've been given this gift. And for me personally, the seniors homes was shut off, and the seniors looked forward to our ministry. And I said to the director of the home that we would go to, it was once a month, it was half an hour, but these seniors literally had it on their calendar. They're like, when are you coming back? And then it was shut down. And I said to her, I'm going to try to figure out some creative way that we could get music in there. There's just been so many obstacles, but I refuse to give up. And I think as artists that, if we can trade ideas, share ideas, but don't allow fear to cripple us from making music. I've had to challenge people, hey, let's get together. Yeah, but the guidelines. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Okay, so we could sit 10 feet away from each other. I don't care. I just need to be with some people. So, we just have to, maybe it's okay. I know it looks different. All these virtual choirs were happening, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I need to spew. Even if we have
Yeah.
plexiglass behind, can we just,
Right.
hit a note? So I'd
Happening
be
there?
singing over the phone, doing a Zoom call,
Yeah.
get the key. How are we going to do this? I said, you have a phone. I have a phone. Let's go on FaceTime. You sit at your keyboard. We'll find the key, but don't stop the music. Don't stop the
That's
music.
good. Don't stop the music.
No, yeah,
Canada
exactly.
still?
Don't
Back.
stop it.
Yeah. This is great. I heard from Drew talking about those communities of people that are just doing it. They're just doing it. That's great.
Awesome.
And Tom's talking about being in the background, helping supportive, and you're talking about fanning the flame. And I think those are great things. Really, no, Cheryl, do you have anything to close up with? Because I have a question I want to ask.
Well, I'm listening to all of this and going, wow. Um, I feel in some ways we're touching the surface of how to build a community. I also wanted to add one thing. Everything that we're talking about, the idea of breaking bread, and from far back, that comment about breaking bread with one another, eating with one another, to just having a servant heart and just seeing what you can bring to the table. I mean, I'll say this. I was even personally challenged in in conversing with someone on Zoom. And literally my question was, okay, now what happens online? How do you build community if I hope it doesn't happen, but if we were put back in a position where we weren't allowed again to connect in person, but we have to connect using technology, how do we, see as fellow introverts, exception of Dale, you know, to feel like, okay, well, we don't get together, we'll just hide in our little corner and be hermits, right? It's very easy to want to do that until we don't want to do that. But how do we build community if we have this, what some people would call a barrier of technology? And I guess it's just
Hmm.
how to actually see it. Is it a barrier or is it a window, right? And one of the things I was told is be present, just be present. And if that means being involved in social groups, like on online groups, and as Drew was hinting at, and interacting there. Drew gave that perfect example of people like putting messages, hey, doing a gig, we need anyone want to open for here? You got 15 minutes, we can do da da da. It's just being present and not only asking, but also giving. Um,
Mm.
if someone posts something that you like, hey, right, rock on, I like that, that's awesome that you said that, or I'm with you on this. Or if someone says, I got a little diddly song and I got this far, what do you think? Do you think this, I should
Yeah.
continue this, or whatever, giving
I got
that
a catchphrase
feedback.
in my head for what you're just saying right now. Is that being present is the perfect gift. It
Yes.
might be the perfect
Yes.
gift for somebody. Yeah.
Yes. We got
That's
to
that's
write
my
all these
Christmas
catchy.
line. That's my
Yeah.
Christmas line.
I
Whenever
love
I go to someone's house, I don't have a gift. I say,
it.
"Well, my
I'm here.
presence
What
is
more
the
gift do you
presence.
need?
My presence is the presence.
My
So you don't
presence
need
is
anything."
gift enough. Yeah.
So, Dale, if
Tom.
I use that line to start a song, do I have to give you
A writing
some
credit.
credit?
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you some credit because like the wheels are turning here.
Yeah, go for it, sister. Okay, Cheryl, sorry I interrupted.
I think Tom was going to say something too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rules to anything successful, I don't care what it is you got to show up. You want to have successful relationships, show up. You want to get results at the gym, show up. You want to keep your job, show up. You want your kids to feel like you're there, show up. So that's
Right.
key. So like I kind of have like two big rules. It's one, show up, two, add value. And and you can't add value if you don't show up. So showing up is, like you said, it's commenting, it's going, hey, great job. And honestly, I am terrible at commenting on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. I don't do that well, because I'm a guy where like, I don't like to do it just to do it. I really want to feel like, hey, I need to go out of my way and say this. Otherwise, if it just becomes habit, great job. Like, you know, this, I'm going to sound like a real jerk here, but like, I don't care that it's your birthday. I'm not going to go out of my way and say, happy birthday, happy birthday. I just don't care. Like, you know, because I don't like when people wish me a happy birthday, you know. And I think like I hit a certain point in my life and going, hey, I got less and less of these ahead of me. Stop reminding me. So I don't want to be that guy to other people either. So, like I said, I know I sounded really jerky.
It's just good that you're not bitter.
Right, it's just still like, it's, you know, listen, I'm still kind of annoyed at God. Like, hey man, why you gotta, you know, you like, if I got less lives, you know, less years ahead of me, man, can I have good knees to deal with them?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
Come on.
You just give me a fresh back if you're going to make fresh opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
Right. If I got like only 25 years left in my lifespan, like let me sprint into that, you know? You know, I don't want to have to like, you know.
Please let us know when the show airs. Please let us know when you go live for your comedy show.
I don't know that my comedy would be good for a Christian audience. I mean, like the comedian that I write for. What I write for, again, and this is just me serving their brand, is stuff that I would never, I won't tell anyone even who it is, because no, it's so off brand for me. But at the end of the day, this is someone who I understand that what they're, a lot of times, like what they're trying to convey comedically. So I help them translate that. And sometimes it's stuff that I probably shouldn't say, or wouldn't say. So for me, finding my comedy brand would take some refining, but I might do it. I mean, you know, right now for comedy, I've made a couple little videos. Like recently I made a fun little video. I was outside my studio here in the street. And I was just like, hey, guys, so I'm, you know, talking about the Will and Jada thing. And all of a sudden you hear Will Smith go, hey, keep my wife's name, beep. And I put the beep in. Yeah, how do you mouth? And I'm like, what? Is that you, Will? And he says it again. And then it's like, oh, well, what are you going to slap me? And he goes, no, starts shooting at me. And I'm like, oh, so that was like the comedy of it. I took audio snippets from the movie I Am Legend, because the echo is almost the same as the Oscars. So it literally sounded like he was out in the street yelling at me. It was really funny. You know, and like, I enjoy making content like that. People got a kick out of it, you know. That said, I pray for Will Smith. I pray for everyone involved or anyone affected by that. And, you know, we'll see what happens with that moving forward. I pray God does a huge work in Hollywood and all those people. But, you know, I just think that, you know, just entertaining people on any level is a passion of mine. You know, and I've had, again, side note, but I've had to come to terms and make peace with the fact that when I got involved in Christian music and all this, I was always like just kind of saying the same things everyone else was and calling what I do a ministry. And, you know, to me it is. You are ministering, but it's not a ministry in the way that a lot of people like ministry to be. So I have just resorted to the fact that, look, what I do is I entertain people, and I try my best to show the love of and the hope of Jesus Christ in that. And if that's ministry to some, awesome. If it's just entertainment, that's cool too. I'm good with whatever you want to define it as. I'm just, you know, sort of to a point in my life where God has given me gifts and abilities, and I'm going to use them. And if people like it and are impacted by it, which I hope they are in a positive way, great. If not, it is what it is. You know, I just have to be true to what I believe I'm called to do with the gifts. And I think everyone should just, hey, if you've been given gifts and talents, use them to the best of your ability. And, you know, stop trying to mold and shape those to look like the way someone else uses them. Because that's the biggest mistake we make in churches, trying to act like Elevation. You know, pastors are now trying to be the next Stephen Furtick, you know. You know, I mean, they're all doing it now, you know. Can I get an amen? Because God will do it. Hallelujah. Like singing, they'll start singing and, you know, like, okay, Stephen, thanks, you know, but like everyone's just trying to copy everyone. And it's like, no, be you. And hopefully, and I think this is my biggest thing. Like like I come on shows like this and I be me. I go off on my tangents and I get loud, and sometimes I come away going, I didn't accidentally curse, did I? Like I worry about what's come out of my mouth in the last 10 minutes. But that's the real me. I've stopped wearing the mask of, okay, like everyone, this is what everyone expects from a Christian artist, so this is what I'm going to be. And I realized I was taking away from the gifts and talents God has given me. Just be me, for better or for worse, and allow him to just let God convict me of, hey, don't do that one again, rather than try to, just copy everyone. And again, going back to the community thing, when you're your authentic self, people are drawn to you. They're like, yo, that guy's real, for real. Like, and that was a big thing for me. When I kind of dropped I don't want to call it an act, but when I dropped the filter of like, okay, got to portray myself as Christian artist. Every time I took a picture, I tried to be like, Philippians, this, like I tried to add scripture to everything in my life just to make content that fit that mold. My community wasn't growing. Because people, it's not that they didn't think it was inauthentic. They're just like, well, what's really I want to know this guy for real. And I think that that's the advice I can give anyone is be yourself, for better or worse. And, go into every social situation knowing this is my biggest thing. I let people know right off the bat. When I first become friends with people, I go, look, I'm a lot, okay? If I'm ever a little extra for you, just tell me. Like, hey, pump the brakes, bud, I can turn it off a little bit, and I think that that's the big, like I said, just be your authentic self. You may have the biggest community in the world because of it, or it may be a very small community, but either way, it's the community you're supposed to have, because God's going to put into your life the things you're supposed to have, whether you try or, super hard, or it comes to you really easy. What you're supposed to have is what's going to come to you. I'm a firm believer in that,
Well, thank you. That's good, because we've heard, Cheryl and I have talked to many people, and we've heard that from several people, that authenticity is one of the strongest ways forward in any career. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And Dale, is that kind of a segue into your question?
Well, I think Tom actually covered the question, but if anyone else has some input, but the one thing, if you had any advice, I think Tom's already given a great example of that. Maybe there's something that maybe Drew or Pat might have to add to about in this, where to encourage artists that are involved in the creative scene and to be involved in community. What would you say?
I
Can you
would
repeat the
I
question?
would
Sorry.
say,
Sorry.
sorry.
So how would
Go
you
ahead, Dale.
encourage artists to be involved in this creative community, in the scene that you want to maybe be a part of, to be involved in this creative community? How would you encourage them? What advice would you give?
So I was going to say I would, just going back to what I said, was be intentional and reach out to somebody you've never spoken to. We have this social media platform. I met Drew probably 10 years ago. He doesn't even remember me. And he came to our church with somebody else. They were ministering there for, I think it was a Christmas event we were having. I know you don't remember, Drew. But, um, you know, I have not interacted with him on a personal level. So, and I know he's an introvert, I'm an introvert. But like I said, if it's up to me to want to try to connect with somebody else. Tom said it earlier, see how you can serve, see how you can add value. So there's several people that I have tried to reach out to on social and just say, hello, I've seen you, we've both sung at different events at different times. How are you? Again, that intentionality of saying, are you doing anything Friday? It can sound, after reaching out to them and not getting a response, but if you really want to connect with that person, you might offer a coffee date, or somebody that you've said hello to, but you don't know much about them.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do a Zoom call? it's almost doing things that may feel uncomfortable if you're looking
Yeah.
for community to get on a call with a few people, maybe planning. I even thought of planning a Zoom call, but I talked myself out of it with a bunch of artists to connect because I just wasn't seeing it in the way that you know the way that it could be. So in building community, be intentional, take the risk of just reaching out, saying hello, and finding how people are. God forbid we go back to what what you said, Cheryl, what we were 2 years ago. But I think we've had 24 months to perfect using some form of technology to connecting. And my prayer is that with what we've gone through, that we would be more intentional because I sure have been. And now I'm like, we can go into a coffee shop.
Hmm.
Let's book the dates and let's book them
Yeah.
fast
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
before anything else happens. But
That's
even
right.
sending an encouraging word, I know you said like a
Hmm.
picture, but I would even go a step further. If you're on social media, make a comment. It's nice to hear you. It's nice to see you. Or, y- t- send a private message. Don't just do an emoji because I don't know what you mean by that emoji. Are you just following the 10 people before you? Or do you have a real comment? Or, that song was kind of high for you. DM me and say, were you struggling with that song? I'm not the one that's going to be offended by it. And my prayer and hope is that as creatives, we could take that constructive criticism now that I know you guys
Mm.
don't dump my thoughts, but I really think community is an intentional reach out. Even if I do it all the time and I feel like I've just thrown mush on my face. But honestly, I think there's certain things that I've gone through in my life that have made me unafraid to
Mm.
that rejection. I really
Right.
don't care anymore. That mask that you spoke about, Tom, that's come off. Like it or leave it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
if God has given us a gift, um, I'm going to use it as much as I
Mhm.
can
Yeah,
to
and
the
that's like
glory
going
of
back
God.
to what Drew talked about, brave, using that opportunity to be brave and not let that hinder you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just close off. We had a funeral about a month ago for a gentleman who had been a mentor to a whole bunch of us in different walks of our life. And I looked at, I had seen friends and musicians that we haven't seen each other in years. And I just said to a couple of them, I said, guys, can we just stop meeting at funerals? And can we be intentional and just put something on the calendar and say,
Yeah, good for
Saturday,
you.
3 o'clock, let's meet up for pizza. It doesn't have to be a concert. Nobody has to be, the headliner. Can we just get together and talk?
Hmm.
Because in all of the years that we've known each other, we haven't done that. We hug and we kiss after a concert. We stand in line and wave to each other from a distance, and then we show up at funerals. And frankly, kind of tired of it. So
Yeah, yeah.
let's be
I,
intentional.
that's cool. That goes right back to what Drew said at the beginning. Hang out, do a meal. And yeah, yeah, absolutely. Ties in. It's like bookends here. We got bookends going on. That's great.
Drew, do you have anything to add?
Final
I
words.
think, yeah, final words.
Yeah.
Um, two things. Excuse me. Um, I was talking to a gentleman that I just met. I think this is our second, maybe our third time talking. Last Thursday night, I was at a pub and we met a few times. And he's a musician in the area, and we have a lot of mutual friends. We add each other on Facebook, like earlier that night. I was like, oh my gosh, we have like so many mutual friends. It was crazy. And he's a much like me, like a church kid, worship leader, but someone who also at the same time was doing the bars and the clubs. Um, and he's like, yeah, man, it's cool that I know you, but I don't know anybody else. I'm like, really? Like, what do you mean? Like, you're a church kid? He's like, I'm not really going to church right now. I'm like, great, you come to my church if you want. He's like, okay, maybe, I don't know. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, forget the church thing. Why don't you come out to this open mic night that I hang out like every Wednesday? I'm there every single Wednesday. There's a bunch of great people. Actually, some of our mutual friends will show up there. And he's like, I'll be there. Done. All day today he's been texting me. Can't wait till Wednesday, man. It's gonna be awesome. Can't wait. I'll buy you the first round. I'm like, okay, great. that's a simple story. It's like just the invite. I think
Yeah.
community starts with that. It's kind of like, okay, you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for something. Maybe what I have isn't for you. Maybe you won't vibe with these people. That's cool. Here's the invite, and we'll see how it goes. That's the easy slash risky thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
always worth it. Always worth it. Even if he walks away saying, "No, your friends suck." Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you taking the risk and coming out
Mm-hmm.
and hanging with us. That's amazing. Maybe you and I could just
Totally.
go. Like I think that's amazing. The second thing, and so that's an easy way to kind of like get community going and invite people into it and let it grow like it's natural and organic in that way. Going back to the whole online conversation, like how do you do things online? I know for me, there's many times when I curse the pandemic. I'm like, that ruined me in so many ways. But there's also things about the pandemic that I'm so thankful for. I wouldn't have such a deep and rich community without it.
Mm.
My community grew because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Specifically, my arts community, my music community, my people. Like my crew. I have a crew of like 40, 55 people. Where if I'm in trouble tomorrow, I'm good. I'm covered.
Mhm.
I'll be okay. Not my church.
Yeah.
Right? Not
Yeah.
my church. No, my local arts community. They got me. They got me. And so it's for me, it's and I've for me the online thing for me, like I did this regular show. It was big for the first few months. It was like twice a day, every day, um, and especially in the first like 2 months of the lockdown, and then it was every Friday night, and that just sort of grew and grew, and people that became its own little community. Where now every once in a while I'll get a text from someone who's meeting up. Someone from like Winnipeg is hanging out with someone in Hamilton, and they're like, "We met at your show online on Instagram 2 years ago today." And I'm like,
Yeah.
it being present for sure, but it's also just this going back to what's already been said. You just gotta do it. Like before the pandemic, I was never one to do like a YouTube video or like a live. Never did it. Didn't care. No, I did care. I just didn't think I had it in me. That wasn't me. I'm not like hey guys, welcome to my show. I'm gonna play some songs. That's not my thing. Um, I don't have the face for video. You know what I'm saying? That's not my vibe. That's not my thing. Put me in a crowd with my guitar, done. I got you, boo. But put a camera in front of me, I'm out. Peace. And so for me, it was kind of like I need to get over this thing because here's an amazing opportunity I have to just meet people where they are in their pain, in their grief, in their tension, in their fear. Because the first few weeks we're all like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, I'm gonna sit here and eat food and play songs and just invite people to join me and sing along, be silly. I'm gonna crack jokes. It's gonna be wild and crazy. We're gonna go on for 3, 4 hours a night and just see what happens. I think just taking that risk, whether you're inviting someone out or whether you're doing that 4 hour Instagram live, just creating that sense of community, whether it's saying, hey man, come join this thing I'm part of. I think you'll love it. It's a lot of people who also are just want to hang out and meet new people who are musicians and artists. Or whether it's like, sing some songs with me. Watch me as I screw up your favorite song. It's gonna be great. Whatever it is, however it looks in terms of like that invite, that sense of kind of like, let's go. It will be fine. We will be together. We will hold each other through this experience, however bad it or good it might be. And let's just be real with each other as much as we possibly can be. I will
Yeah.
screw up your favorite song and I won't apologize because you can laugh at me and that's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll find
Yeah.
joy in going, Drew's a moron, right? And I'll find joy seeing your laughing faces emojis going up on my screen. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's that it really is that give and take of like I will risk it for building something new with you. And the other person's
Wow.
saying the same thing. I will risk this
Yeah.
so I can build something new with you.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
that
you.
brave
Yeah,
space, right? It's like kind of like,
absolutely.
I barely know you, man. Come and hang out with my people. You could be a
Hmm.
jerk, but it's worth it if you can walk away feeling loved and cared for. I
Hmm.
don't like being seen, even as a musician, and this using this phone thing. Hang it. But if I can make someone's day by acting like a fool, done.
Yeah.
Done. If I can sing a song that'll make people cry a little bit and let out some tension, let out some grief, worth it. I
Yeah.
will be in front of the screen for as long as I need to until people say, Drew, that's exactly what I needed tonight. It is that
Mhm.
risk, it is that invite.
Very
Those are my two
cool.
thoughts.
Well, thank you for that. That's awesome. And appreciate the time you have taken with us today. It's been a good conversation. It really has. A lot of fun.
It has been. It has been. I wanted to jump a little bit on what all three of you said. And sometimes when we encounter, like we want to do, it's easy to say, do the invite the people, be authentic, etc., etc. But sometimes there's this, as I think Pat said, there's fear. And sometimes fear comes with assumptions. And assumptions are not something that is an actual fact. It assumption is basically something that comes up in our mind going, maybe if I do this, then this other thing's going to happen. But it hasn't happened at all. And I say it because sometimes that happens to me. I sometimes I make assumptions. Oh, I should make that call. No, they're not going to want this. They're not going to want. And I think one of you actually mentioned this as well. But don't let assumptions stop you from doing what you need to do to be part of a community or to help build one.
Mm.
Don't let assumptions stop you from creating the invite. Don't let assumptions stop you from you know taking that step towards reaching out to someone or giving that cup of water or cracking a joke or saying, hey, you know what? You did good. I like what you did there. Awesome job. Or
Mm.
you need to approve on that, or don't quit your day job, whatever it is. Don't let assumptions stop you
Yeah.
from being and doing what you need to do, or to, to, to basically don't let assumptions stop you from being part of the community. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? I
Yeah.
hope that makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
It
Don't
does.
let assumptions be the wall to stop you.
That's right. Now, for those of
Drew,
you who just
go
joined
ahead.
us for this, thank you so much for being here, GMI Hub. Please go check out our GMI Hub website, gmihub.ca. You will find a lot about us on there, as well as our monthly newsletter, The Hub Happening. If you have sent us your email, we'll make sure you get that each month. We also have um, a a compilation CD we're working on for this Christmas. And we want just to make sure you're aware of it. July 31st is our final date for your submissions. If you go onto the website gmihub.ca, you will be able to put your submissions in there, and we'd love to get your songs in and try to encourage the talent that is listening to us right now and watching. And don't forget to hit the subscription if you haven't already done so, and the notification bell, and then you will be able to know whenever we upload our next video.
Absolutely. And speaking of dates, not only July 31st, but coming up next week, we have got the founder of Rocket Fuel coming on board. It's Andy Baker, and he's going to be talking about his crowdfunding system. But with that, we have one of our own artists, Billy V, that's going to join us. And the reason this is important because Rocket Fuel recently did a challenge called the 10K in 10 months, and Billy V actually participated in it. So we're going to hear about how that worked for a local artist, which is going to be awesome. We also have Easter Monday, which is the following Monday, and you know what? It's Easter Monday. We're going to take the day off. So enjoy. If you want, you're more than welcome to come check out our YouTube channel and revisit a lot of the 94, now 95 videos that are on our YouTube channel. We had great conversations with great people. A lot of people actually are just finding us out and going, wow, I didn't know you had this on here. So feel
Yeah.
free to indulge in the great conversations and glean from those conversations that will help you in whatever level or whatever aspect of the music industry that you are in. Another date that we don't want you to forget, in May, 2 days actually, May the 9th, we have, drum roll please, Tom Jackson. Tom Jackson is going to be joining us online to talk about the 5 things you need to know before you get on stage. So we're looking forward to having Tom Jackson join us. And on May 30th, it's showing up on the screen shortly. May 30th is Artist Showcase Day. We are literally going to take one Monday and we're going to showcase artists. And you know what? And this is something that we're trying out. If this is something that you will like, first of all, I encourage you to join us on May 30th, because not only is it going to be in person, but we also have artists from out west that are going to be streaming in, or we're going to make it a hybrid event. So we would love for you to join us on that. And we'd love your feedback on it. If this is something that you would like to see again and again, we will pick another Monday and we will do it again, because we know that artists want a place to play. But we also know we know there's people that want to hear the music too. So if you are excited about that, please join us May 30th to listen to these artists. They're brand new for us to be on our program, and we are excited about having them. Well, we are
Absolutely.
so glad. Oh yes, April 25th. I forgot to mention that. April 25th, GMIHub goes hybrid. What that simply means is we are so thrilled. We're going to have Brooke Nichols calling in, but we are also, because mandates are down now, we're going to actually try and have our in-person audience with us as well. So April 25th, we might have a studio audience. Dale, how do you like
Yeah.
that?
I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. I'm looking
and
forward
Dale
to it.
and I and Dale and I will actually be in the same room. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, we haven't had
together. Can you
that
believe it?
for 2 years.
It's been so long.
So we'll be in the same room. We'll have Brooke Nichols with us, talking about songwriting from her perspective, about kind of where she gets her inspiration and how she turns that inspiration into a song. And she recently, with Worship Movement, I believe is the name of the group, released a song called Still, which has been playing on the radios and doing really, really well. So we're excited about having her on April the 25th. Look, GMI
Absolutely.
Hub is trying to do so many different things right now. Our goal is to help strengthen the gospel/Christian music industry by doing things that help encourage unity, community, mentorship, and talent growth. What you're seeing here is one initiative. The compilation album is another initiative, and now trying to do hybrid events and having showcase events for artists. That's another initiative. We're open to other ideas as well. So please feel free to reach out to us at gmihub.ca. Go to our contact page and send some thoughts, send some ideas. We'd love to hear from you. And it doesn't matter where you're located, right? We'd love to
Right.
hear from you. Thanks so
Yes.
much for being here. Thank you, Drew, Patricia, and Tom, for taking the time to be with us and share your hearts about and your thoughts about building community and what it really takes and why it is so important. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. And welcome to our community, of course.
Yes.
That's why we keep calling you back. We'll keep calling you back,
Yes.
just so you know.
Well, you know, Pat,
And
you're
we,
coming back. You're coming back.
yeah, there you go. And thank you. And thank you for joining us. And we look forward for you to connect with us next week on GMI Hub Online. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thanks for
God
having
bless.
us. Bye.
Mhm.
GMIHub is accepting new songs for their 2022 Christmas compilation. To find out how to submit your song, go to www.gmihub.ca today. GMI Hub Family Christmas Volume 3. Ho, 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 ho.